Before we get into today's episode, let me ask you something. Do you know what your current level of English really is? Understanding your level is crucial to tracking your progress and ensuring your hard work is paying off. That's why I've created a quick and easy English level test that you can take right now for free. Find out your level instantly. Just head to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/testme or check the link in the show notes.
Vitamin water was born in New York because New Yorkers wanted more flavor to pair with all the amazing food in the city. You can have the best meal in the world here, if you can get a reservation. Vitamin water is so New York. Its 3 favorite cheeses are chopped cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese, and a slice of cheese pizza. We know where to get the best sushi in the city, and best nachos, and best bagels, and best... You get it. And you can find food trucks better than 5-star restaurants. Drink vitamin water. It's from New York.
Hello and welcome to the British English Podcast, the show that helps improve your British English through a culture-led conversation. And today, I've decided to take you on an adventure with me. The sun is shining, it's a Saturday and I'm back in London and raring to see the city. And a sudden idea struck me. You see, for about 10 or so years, I was living life as an expat in different countries around the world. But since moving back to the UK in 2023, I've felt like I'm missing something in my life. And I think it's to do with the fact that I don't treat my hometown as a place of adventure. At least not in the same way as I treated the places I was living as an expat. I see it as a place that is always going to be here for me and one that I just know all there is to know about, which is so stupid because there is an endless array of things out there for me to learn about here in the British Isles. So I decided to look up some walking tours. I've enjoyed doing them as an expat in different cities, and I thought, why not? Sure, there are those tours that may go on a bit too long and I end up standing there just thinking about whether my trainers are actually comfortable enough. And then I start thinking about how weird it is that we all wear shoes. Shoes are a weird concept, aren't they? And then I see that everyone in the tour group has moved on to the next meeting point to hear more about some facts that we won't remember in 24 hours. But when you get a good tour guide and the balance is right, I love them. And the benefit for you is that I'll be skipping the yawn-inducing shite and you get to enjoy it from the comfort of your own home or wherever you're listening to this. Plus, you get to pause whenever you want. How good would that be in the real world? If you could just pause someone if you want a break from the conversation. God, that would be great. I'm just thinking about who I'd use the pause button on the most. So I went online to decide which type of walking tour I want to experience for you, and I came across the perfect one. It is the London Pubs Tour. Now, I don't think I'll just be doing pub golf, and so hopefully my words won't be slurring more and more as I progress. According to the description, I'll be discovering London's oldest drinking establishments while exploring the back alleys and charming, winding streets of the historic city centre. I'll be learning how Victorians fed their gin cravings, standing in the secret alleyways where one of England's most notorious poets faced a duel, and much more. So, let's get out there into the wild world of Londinium. Have you ever wondered if you're making real progress in your English learning journey? Knowing your level is the key to recognizing your improvements. I have a fantastic tool for you, a free English level test that gives you an instant result. Take a few minutes now to discover your level and continue your learning journey with confidence. Visit thebritishenglishpodcast.com/testme or click the link in the show notes to find out your level of English today.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Okay, I'm actually running late because I felt like I needed to clean the kitchen before going out to keep my missus from kicking up a fuss. So I'm lime biking to the underground. And if anyone listening has not tried an e-bike, you just need to. They are incredible. It's like a bike with a bit of magic in it. It's basically a broomstick on wheels. Anyway, a quick ride and I'm now going on the underground. I suppose I might as well share some quick tips while I'm going through, because I still see lots of tourists being encouraged to use what we call an Oyster card, which is a London Underground travel card that you have to pay for and top up. But since the contactless stuff came in with your contactless debit or credit card, it works just the same, if not better, on the barriers. So yeah, don't get an Oyster card, but just remember to tap on and off or in and out with the same card, because otherwise you'll be charged a lot more. All right, so we're through the barriers now, and we have an unspoken bit of etiquette that we take more seriously than tea and tax evasion. Well, maybe not tea, but when you are on an escalator, you know, those big moving stairs that make us look rather like a human sushi conveyor belt. So the etiquette is to stand on the right and walk on the left. So if you're in a rush, walk on the left side. But if you're taking in the experience, maybe reading the ads, then stand on the right. Even if you're with a friend, stand one step above or below your friend and turn towards them. Do not block the left side. I repeat, do not block the left side. Otherwise, you will be receiving a lot of tuts. Also, don't be weird and make sure that you give strangers at least a stare between you and them, even when it's busy, because otherwise they'll start to feel like you're invading their personal space or trying to pickpocket them. All right, so now you're on the platform, having decided if you're going north or southbound or east or westbound, which is hard for some if you don't really get a compass out every day. So pro tip, before you lose signal on your phone from, coming down underground, just appreciate which direction you're generally going on that specific line. Are you going north, south, east, or west? And that way you can more accurately conclude which direction you are bound. All right, on the platform, about to get on. Now, if it is rush hour or a busy line that you're on, get ready for a strange space paradox, because you often end up closer to strangers than you've ever been with your romantic partner. Yet no one makes eye contact. It's like a silent orgy of denial, delightfully horrible. And to make matters worse, there are now ads on the train saying, essentially, don't be a creep. It's considered rape, which is important for the small percentage of creeps out there. But for the most of us, I think it just sets an unnecessary negative vibe. So, good luck with that. What else? Obviously, mind the gap and let people get off a carriage before you get on one, and vice versa. Get off before people try to get on. All right, so imagine we've popped up out the other side like a true mole, and we're at Chancery Lane Station. Now, I was told that the tour starts outside the tube entrance, but I can't see anyone about. So I'm walking up and down looking for a big group of humans or cows being herded to the slaughter. Sorry, that was needlessly aggressive and visual. Just tourists, gathering in a crowd. Maybe a man or a woman with a high vis on, or maybe if they don't have a high vis, the guide will probably be wearing some boomer-style hiking clothes. And I'm now turning back around, and I see two men talking by the traffic light. But being such an astute people watcher, I get the sense that they don't know each other, and yet they actually seem invested in the conversation, which is weird in London. Because either you have a mutual connection that makes you stop to chat, or something created a very rare moment of conversation between two strangers. And that is always a maximum of 10, 20, maybe 30 seconds at tops. And then one of you shows a sign of wanting to exit the conversation. So they're still talking, which means I'm heading over, hovering awkwardly for a bit. And then as soon as they look towards me, I start my interruption with the most overused word in the British English dictionary, which is sorry. Yes, I say, sorry to interrupt, but are you guys here for the walking tour by any chance? And amazingly, despite it being a sunny Saturday, it ended up being just me, one Aussie traveller, and the tour guide on this tour. I mean, terrible for the tour guide or the company that hired him, but amazing for me because we basically got a personal tour and got to have a dynamic three-way conversation with a history buff and storyteller. I mean, the Aussie wasn't a storyteller. The guide was a history buff and storyteller in one person. Whenever the conversation lulled, we got some history or some stories. Plus, we were on a mission, weren't we? We had purpose. 3 men walking into a bar. 3 men walk into a bar. I suppose that might go over your head, that line, but this is the start of a very popular form of joke, or at least was before woke culture killed stereotyping. A typical example might be an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman walk into a bar. I suppose I should fully example this. Okay. So they each order a pint, but a fly lands in all 3 drinks. The Englishman pushes his pint away in disgust. The Scotsman carefully picks the fly out and keeps drinking. And the Irishman pulls the fly out and yells, "Spit it out your teeth." I don't know if that was a good accent. That was my attempt at Irish. Spit it out, you thief. Spit it out your teeth. Terrible, probably. Apologies to Ireland. Anywho, why is this mildly funny? Well, in relative terms, the English are known to be fussy, the Scottish are known to be thrifty, and the Irish are known to be hot-headed, but hilarious. And when I was growing up in the 90s and noughties, these jokes were incredibly exaggerated with all nationalities, often very rude, but that's where jokes thrive, is it not? Anyway, in reality, it's 2 Brits and an Aussie walking into a pub. And one Brit tells us a load of history about the place. The pub we were in claims to be one of the oldest standing in London, being built in the early 1400s, which is pretty bloody old, isn't it? Although, after checking it on Google Maps, it says 1920. So I feel like we were mugged off there. But, I do see it says some features on the site are from 1430. However old it technically is, it has a long row of confession booths that were built, according to our tour guide, because in those days, before pubs, churches were the most common place for people to gather, and businessmen used to even discuss dealings in the confession booths with one another. So this pub built 10 of them in a row and said, why not come in here and do your dealings while drinking some beer instead of praising the Lord? Then, amazingly, the tour guide said, grab a pew and I'll bring you a nice half pint of ale. So the Aussie and I clambered into one of the confession-style booths and started some small talk, which again felt nice and refreshing. A bit like how conversations were when I was an expat. Because when I meet someone for the first time and they say they are from near here, and I say, me too, the conversation often has to move on to something else. Whereas if one of you or both of you are from different places from the current place you're both in, it allows for the conversation to naturally explore more around that. And that often shapes my conversations to be rather global. So yeah, I miss that, and I'm enjoying this Aussie from Perth telling me about his experience in London. And before we knew it, we had a nice ale to sample. And earlier I said half a pint. And normally this would have a social stigma attached to it. Maybe being that it's now 2025, it's less shameful. But most men feel awkward asking for a half pint as it comes across as very feminine. But it was early in the day, and the guide then told us that considering it's just you two, we can probably get a drink in every bar. So from what I thought would just be a sober encounter, I might indeed end up slurring my words by the end of this episode. So the guide gives us a bit of a rundown of the history of London, or Londinium as it used to be called, how the Romans started it off, and then the Anglo-Saxons wanted a piece of the action and they built up Westminster, which is very central for a modern Londoner. But back then, I suppose, the underground wasn't quite ready to be ridden. And it did help me understand why I feel like London is actually not just a big city, it's more like 100 towns smushed into one greater space. So yes, that kind of made sense for me. And after finishing our drinks, we headed out feeling on top of the world. The sun was shining, we were a half pint in, and the day was young.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. The NBA playoffs are here, and Michelob Ultra is getting you closer to the game than ever with courtside seats and more. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access Courtside 2024 to 2025 sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Ends on July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/superior access/courtside for free entry deadlines and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Hello, Nigel here. I couldn't help noticing that you're still awake. Now, I'm an owl. I'm supposed to be up at night, but you need your sleep. So if it's your allergy symptoms that are keeping you up, here's a word to the wise. Try Xyzal. You see, Xyzal works fast to relieve sneezing, runny nose, itchy watery eyes, and itchy nose and throat. And it keeps going strong for 24 hours, so you can get your sleep and wake up refreshed and ready for a productive day ahead. Be wise all. Take Xyzal at night. Use as directed. Starts working in 45 minutes.
Down the road we go to the next pub, and then he stops us outside a place called the Seven Stars and goes, right, why do you think it's called Seven Stars? And we make silly, tipsy guesses. I'm joking. We weren't tipsy after just a half pint of ale. I mean, I was, but the Aussie wasn't. Then the tour guide hits us with this. Apparently, in Dutch history, the number 7 relates to the 7 united provinces, which made up the Dutch Republic in the 16th and 17th centuries, sort of like their version of the 7 kingdoms. And the Dutch were a really big deal back then. Still are, sure, but really a big deal then. Think trade, stocks, shares, and the birth of capitalism, really. So London was crawling with Dutch merchants, bankers, and mariners. So naming a pub the Seven Stars, it was basically a cheeky little nod towards Dutch people. So when Dutch traders came into town, they'd see the name and think, friendly territory, let's pop in for a pint. And then the guide starts banging on about tulips for a while. I sort of lose focus and then come back to full concentration. And fair play. Apparently, in the 1630s, the Dutch went wild for tulips. And why did they go wild for them? Well, apparently, there was this full-blown investment bubble. Back then, this is true, people were buying tulip bulbs for the price of a house and then hoping to flip them later and retire early because they sold a tulip. I mean, spoiler alert, but it crashed. This economy crashed around tulips. But this was apparently one of the first things that brought on stocks and shares and investment. And he said they called it tulip mania, often described as the first financial bubble in recorded history. Madness. And then he nicely segued into another story about why America speaks English instead of Dutch. And the answer is nutmeg. Nutmeg. Now, I'd arrogantly like to say I already knew this one because a student once told me. I think that student was a captain of some kind, a marine battleship's captain. I forget what country he was from, but he told me, and so did the tour guide, that once upon a time, New York was actually called New Amsterdam. So the Dutch were the first to colonize Manhattan. You know Manhattan, right? It's the main island that the main part of New York City is on. So they were the first to colonize that part. They bought the island off the local indigenous people for the equivalent of about $24, apparently. And they set up shop as, the Dutch. The Dutch are here, and it's New Amsterdam. Meanwhile, totally separate thing, but they were making a killing on nutmeg, which is a spice, if you didn't know. And nutmeg, which was only grown on a tiny group of islands in what's now Indonesia, the Banda Islands in Indonesia. And nutmeg was a huge deal because it flavored food. It masked bad smells, which I imagine was really important back then. And it was believed to cure the plague. Bit of a reach with that one, but still, they thought that then. So anyway, the British stumble across one of these nutmeg islands called Run Island. And they think, we've hit the jackpot. We can now sell nutmeg too. But the Dutch were furious because they'd gone to huge lengths to keep nutmeg a secret. They even soaked and destroyed nutmeg exports so the seeds wouldn't grow elsewhere. So they had the monopoly on this spice. So they were annoyed at the Brits and they said, we're going to take this island off of you. But the Brits said, all right, we'll give it back. We'll give it back to you. We'll give you this spice growing hub called Run Island, but we want something in return because they couldn't look weak to the Spanish and French and Portuguese, the Brits, because otherwise the Spanish, French and Portuguese would probably bully the Brits. So the Brits were like, give us something back. Come on, what have you got? And the Dutch were like, all right, in exchange, you can have this little outpost we don't really care about anymore called New Amsterdam. And just like that, Britain got Manhattan and they renamed it New York after the Duke of York. And maybe, just maybe, that's why America speaks English today, all because of some spice called nutmeg. And by the time that story had ended, we were outside a nice looking park in the middle of the LSE campus. We will be leaving the free version of this episode here for today. But if you did want to continue listening to this conversation, then head over to the BritishEnglishPodcast.com, where you can sign up to the Premium Podcast or the Academy. The Premium Podcast gives you the ad-free version with transcripts, a full glossary and flashcards, whereas the Academy gives you all of that plus a whole lot more, including vocab video lessons, writing assignments, weekly Zoom classes, and you can also get paired with a new speaking partner of a similar level to yours each month to really get your speaking practice in. But if you were just here for the free version of this episode, then I thank you very much. Congratulations for getting to the end of this part, and I hope to see you back here next week for another episode. I've been your host, Charlie, on the British English Podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Before you go, make sure you know where you stand in your English learning journey. I've created a free English level test that you can take right now to find out your exact level. It's quick, easy, and gives you instant results. Head to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/testme or check the link in the show notes. Because tracking your progress helps you stay on track. We can't use track twice, guys. No, let's do that again. Yep, we don't have time. Oh. All right, we'll just delete this last sentence then.